let's get things started with Flippy.
Whee!
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, it's time for the Flippy update. If you're new to the show, Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs. They're enslaving our children. And now, even more than ever, they're flirting with our spouses. And we use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world and just how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, the Flippy update is coming from Hackaday.com, and the headline is, "Can robots give good hugs?" Well, can they, Gonz?
I don't know, but this purple robed robot that they have here at the top of the article with the pictures.
Oh, this is Huggie-Bot. You'll learn about Huggie-Bot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but for those who are just listening, the robot in question here looks like maybe a Jim Henson puppet from like the Dark Crystal. It's very hunched over and sort of has this purple robe kind of flowing off of it. It looks like some sort of horrible, animatronic.
It's a really raggedy purple robe too. It doesn't even fit. It's all ripped up. Like, what is going on with this purple robe?
And it's huge, too. It's not like you think about hugging something. It does not have the shape of a human torso. So when you hug it, you'd think that they would design some sort of ergonomic hugging form or arm slots or something. Yeah. But no, this is just a big, bulky trash can. Let's keep moving. We could all use a hug once in a while. Most people, and I'll just say right up top, we're obviously going to be talking about the relationship between humans and robots and the humanization of robots and the technocratic dream of eventually replacing people with robots. So just keep that in mind as we read. We could all use a hug once in a while. Most people would probably say the shared warmth is nice and the squishiness of another living, breathing meat bag is pretty comforting. Hugs even have health benefits. Yeah, these writers over at Hackaday, they're kind of like the punk rockers.
That'll go over well. Next time I hug my wife, you're like, I just love your squishiness.
You're such a squishy meat bag, dear.
I love your breathing meat bag.
You're my squishy meat bag. But maybe you're new in town and don't know anyone yet, or you've outlived all your friends and family. Or maybe you just don't look like the kind of person who goes for hugs, and therefore you don't get enough embraces. Nearly everyone needs and wants hugs, whether they're great, good, or just average. So what makes a good hug anyway? It's a bit like a handshake. It should be warm and dry with a firmness appropriate to the situation. Ideally, you're both done at the same time and things don't get awkward. Could a robot possibly check all of these boxes? That's the idea behind Huggie-Bot, the haphazardly humanoid invention of Catherine J. Kuchenbecker and team at the Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems in Stuttgart, Germany. User feedback helped the team to get their arms around the problem. Yeah, interesting. It is coming from the Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems. So you've got sort of a top-notch sort of transhumanist, location or whatever, transcendent sort of philosophy. Let's keep going. A different kind of soft robotics. In the context of therapeutic and elder care robots, they, of course, must be both gentle and responsive. So Dr. Kuchenbecker and team are starting off with hugs and haptic interactions. Hugs are somewhat simple to replicate compared to complex movements like bathing someone or turning them over in their bed. Huggie-Bot has sensors in the arms that ensure it gives a friendly hug and not a life-threatening squeeze, though we wonder if there are any fail-safe measures in place if a sensor goes bad. Another sensor on Huggie-Bot's back detects the human returning the hug. When they lift up their arms or lean against the robot's arms, it breaks the embrace, hopefully. Dr. Kuchenbecker and team knew that Huggie-Bot should be soft, warm, and roughly human-sized. Most importantly, it should know when to release from the hug. Something else Huggie-Bot can do that we hadn't considered. It can adjust to a person's height and posture the way a human would. Physically speaking, the Huggie-Bot looks about as huggable as a robot could. I disagree, but who am I? Just the world's premier robot critic. It is dressed comfortably in a gray hoodie and long purple skirt, and its tablet face bears a pleasant expression. Huggie-Bot's...
I'm sorry. I'm watching the video. I'm showing the video, and they just go, person by person hugging the robot. And there's this one where the guy's like kind of awkward about it. He's like, do I go? And the robot arm just kind of embraces him like, yes, you are coming to hug me.
Yes.
You cannot help it. I am going to hug you.
So the Huggie-Bot takes some initiative even to the nervous huggers out there.
Sorry. So didn't mean to distract you. It's just this video is fantastic.
That's part of it. They even wrap the arms in foam and put socks on the hands. We assume that Huggie-Bot is half dressed in order to show what's underneath. At the end of the day, you're still getting hugged by robotic arms, which is more than a little bit scary, but they seem to do a nice job, which you can see in the video below featuring an earlier version of Huggie-Bot. Doesn't just pull you in, it waits for your approach before closing its big industrial pincers, and they crossed out pincers, and put arms around you. Hugs are about both physical and emotional warmth, and although it's more difficult to grow an emotional bond with a robot or even an inanimate object, it's definitely not unheard of. Think about kids with their stuffed animals and security blankets, or Tom Hanks and Wilson, his pet volleyball. Let's play devil's advocate here. It's not as though Oh no. Well, you got to take over. The metaverse has shut down on me.
Where were you? Let's play devil's advocate here, right there. It's not as though every human gives perfect hugs just because they're human. We all know someone who hugs too hard or too long or too often. What if you can train a robot to hug you exactly how you want to be hugged? If we're serious about hugger robots becoming a thing, there are a lot more things to consider that would make the hugs even more pleasant and human. Like if you were crying, the robot might throw in a few pats and some open-handed back rubbing for extra comfort. It's not that it's a difficult problem to solve. The hard part is getting people to accept the idea and expose their viscera to a machine. Viscera. In Japan, robots are already playing a part in elder care. A nursing home in Tokyo has a whopping 20 different robots roaming around. Many of them are designed to play games and carry on conversations with the residents, as well as leading them in exercise routines. Would you hug a robot? Would you let a robot brush your hair? I would jump at the chance to hug Huggie-Bot as long as Dr. Kuchenbecker was nearby to help out if things went south. In fact, I think robot hugs are better than no hugs at all, especially for lonely senior citizens who might really benefit from a friendly squeeze on the regular. But that's kind of an innocent take. Do we really want to go down the road of robotic intimacy? As with many things, it depends what people do with it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
Hackaday said with a sly wink and a nod.
Yeah. There you go. That is the article.
Yeah. So, dang, I am just like right in the middle of a disaster over here that I'm trying to very calmly rectify. But we have obviously the next, not just, first step for man, but giant leap for mankind when it comes to a robot that is explicitly designed to create physical intimacy with human beings. I mean, we often track and talk about how this is, oftentimes kind of sneakily being added into the game plan or the commercial robot sector, and how social engineering and, more, I don't know, what's the word?
Conditioning.
More subterfuge, some more subterfuge in the idea of convincing people to trust robots and to care for robots. And not just that, but consider them closer to human than they actually are. And here we have specifically a robot created to mimic, that human physical intimacy of hugs. And of course, as always, it's done under the guise of caring for the elderly, because God forbid we have a human being like a nurse hug a human being during work or whatever. We gotta outsource our hugging of our grandmas and grandpas to the robots. And, which again, they use as a selling point, but is also just, a kind of an admission by human beings as a whole that we're pretty much finished with the best parts of being human, caring for one another, showing each other affection and love. Once we get a robot to do it, we can finally avoid those awkward hugs. I could see somebody deploying one of these like in the church, I don't know if it'll come anytime soon, but there's those certain churches that are hugging churches. You walk in and everybody's very, encouraged to hug one another. And you could have one of these little suckers. That's how the invasion of the church happens. That's how the robots take over.
What about the more charismatic churches?
Mm-hmm.
What if they start doing some slaying of the spirit? What kind of spirit will be occupying this machine?
Are we slaying the robot in the spirit?
No. The robot will. That's different.
Punch you in the face.
We're moving away from the hugs, but the purple is interesting because it signifies some kind of royalty.
Mm-hmm.
But in the context of the relationship, the intimacy chart, that the scale, I guess, this is machines entering the game. They're up to bat now. I don't think they're quite at first base here, but looks like they're at the plate, getting ready to swing. Do you get my analogy here? It's
no,
hugs.
Not at all. But
it's hugs. It's hugs, and then next will be a first base robot. You know what I'm saying? It's just an infiltration.
Right. Well, and those who are aware of the current robo market know that, sexual partner robots have been around for a long time, but they're not, very capable of much movement or dexterity. But, I think this is even more, when the sex robots came out, it was a big deal at the time and still is not great. But there's a huge uproar, and specifically because it was, sexual in nature.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with that is it stayed very fringe, and it is still very fringe. And there's people who say that everybody's going to have a robot in their closet someday, and it's just going to be normal. And that might be the case. But the bigger danger of normalization is just the simple hugging robot. And again, there's nothing, essentially wrong about hugging a robot. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is the next step in this technocratic utopia, where the technocrats' biggest problem right now is that they can't get people to trust robots. Well, what's one way to build trust? Hug. A big hug. That helps build trust. Humans have been doing it forever. You can tell if you can trust somebody, if you can hug them and they don't crush you or smell bad or are moist for some reason or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's inherently a physiological trust building trigger that they are unleashing on society. And the end of the end is closer than we thought.
Yep. And, well, I don't know.
You're stricken. You're stricken, speechless.
There's a part of me that they make the point in the article about how it's it's like a stuffed animal, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But China is not employing kill teddy bears on the border of Tibet. It's different. It's different than a teddy bear.
No, but yes. The point I was trying to make when I lost all my words was And I lost it again. So never mind. Never mind.
Good.
Yeah.
Wow. What a fun roller coaster you've taken us on.
It's not really that important of a point. I think it had something to do with the progress and the social engineering and the fact that, here it is. Okay, so COVID caused us to social distance. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't you know it, when we're coming back.
Yeah, great connection.
All these people are physically deprived from any kind of touch, whether it's, innocent touch, a hug, a shaking of the hands or whatever. It's all being replaced by robots. And I think we called it on that front, but this is even more on point with that whole concept of, hey, robots are going to really be unleashed because of this whole lockdown and pandemic and all that.
That does make it even more sort of depressing that they're using the old folks home as their example, the elderly. We can finally hug the elderly again using robots because we're so scared of COVID that we can't hug our grandmas and grandpas anymore.
Yeah. Well,
okay. Well, there's your Flippy update for the day, everybody.
Perfect.